presumption of mining in this state when it comes to public health, safety, and welfare. Current law, the DNR can approve a mining permit, and the applicant must demonstrate that the proposed mine will not endanger public health, safety, or welfare. I think that is a responsible assumption that if we're going to do this practice, that it will not endanger public health, safety, and welfare. Well, the bill before us kind of turns everything on its head, and it says that the proposed mining is reasonably certain not to result in substantial adverse impacts. It's just a couple words, but it allows it to become a little bit more nebulous about will not versus reasonably certain. And, you know, I've got 2 young kids, and when I say you may not do something, they know what I mean. And if I say, well, I'm reasonably certain you're not going to be able to do that, that opens the door a little bit. I think that there's a little bit of, it's not quite as clear, it kind of muddies the water. And I think that this language muddies the water when it comes to mining here in this state.
What your bill does, it provides fudge language in 2 areas. Not only reasonably certain not to, but then you also have a requirement that it cause substantial harm to public health, welfare, or safety. And when you're dealing with the kind of chemicals that we're talking about with this process, including arsenic, which is it's linked to kidney, liver, and lung cancer, lead, which is harmful to children and can cause damage to the nervous system, mercury, which causes neurological problems, especially with fetuses.
The interesting thing to me about this amendment is juxtaposing it with the reason given at the outset of this process about why we needed this bill. We needed this bill to give mining applicants certainty by a date certain about whether or not they would have a mine. And that the only thing that was worse for the business climate was uncertainty. But when you compare that to what we're saying about public health here today, is that no longer is the public, our citizens, going to have certainty about whether or not their public health is protected. Now it just needs to be reasonably certain. So we're, in addition to diminishing environmental standards for wetlands, we're diminishing the standard that we have to protect public health and safety, yet again. And again, I would implore the members of the majority who say that this is not their intent, who say that they feel as though we're besmirching their integrity by suggesting these things, to look at the language that we're offering here today. If you're looking for a way to assuage the concerns that have been raised by members of the public and people who are opposed to this bill, who really think that may be the intent, or it wasn't the intent, but it's a bad result of maybe some bad drafting language, or that it isn't really an out-of-state mining company that's calling the shots on what this language is, that it really is up to the people in this room and in this legislative body to determine that, here's your chance. All we're asking is that the current standard for public health and safety be maintained and not diminished to reasonably certain. Our kids, our fellow citizens, public health and safety deserve at least that much.
Does anybody know for sure this will not? It seems like you're just arguing, saying, okay, our threshold is this, we are reasonably sure that's not going to happen. But when you get to the point will not, is there ever enough information that somebody would be comfortable saying, well, I have so much information here that I know this will not do something? Is that even possible to come to that conclusion?
I mean, perhaps not in a literal sense. Certainly there are other statutes that have a will not standard, so it is not something that the department is that would be foreign to them in terms of an interpretation or an application.
We've heard from the majority party that this project is going to help our schools, it's going to create jobs, yet we somehow trifle with the idea of public health. We hear statements like it's impossible to predict the future. There have been mines all over this country. They deal with the same chemicals that we're dealing with in northern Wisconsin. There's been a higher incidence of cancer around these mines. I mean, I'm a history major. Look at the facts. You don't have to predict the future.
bill originally had the term "is not likely to," which is about a 51% chance. So what they did is really strengthen the bill to go to "is reasonably certain not to result." So I think that language gives us a very strong sense of close to certainty. And while I think the author's intent there will not, intent is noble, I think when you do that, will not immediately slam the door on mining, because I don't see an application coming in when you have words such as that, because probability, just sheer statistics of probabilities, nothing is absolute. And I think we've just slammed the door on the whole issue. I think this amendment would just kill our whole process.
Is it gives to the public the same certainty that you're trying to guarantee to these mining companies. That they'll have certainty that you're not going to trade substantial public health impacts for a mine that might not be safe. That's it. It doesn't have to be a long epistemological conversation about what's real and what's not. It's about public health and whether or not we think that's as important as putting in a mine.
Call the roll of Senate Amendment 6, Senate Substitute Amendment 2 to Senate Bill 1.
Representative Magrin.
No.
Mr. Cota.
No.
Gliga. No. Munson.
No.
Lemieux.
No.
Clanky. No. Mason.
Aye.
Richards.
Aye.
Senators Darling. Olson.
No.
Harsdorf.
No.
Blackham.
No.
Vlasic.
No.
Grothman.
No.
Schilling.
Aye.
Wirch.
Aye.
Motion fails 4-12.